Good morning, everyone. Wow. Oh, wow, thank you. Responsive audience. It was hard to get up this morning. I didn't have to worry, though. I really didn't need my alarm clock. I just woke myself up when I farted. So. Good morning. I need my coffee. I still haven't had it. I noticed something over here, that there's some things flying about. You guys have been here all night. I see there's like a wrapper on the floor over here. Is that a condom wrapper? What has been going on here all night? I wish I was here. I missed the party, apparently. Oh, goodness. So, I'm just going to do a few jokes. So I'm going to bring up the next comedian, which is Trevor Gertonson. That serial killer stuff was really good, wasn't it? That was great! And welcome to the Rated R Hour. Yeah, it's coming. So I think it'd be fitting for me just to talk a little bit about your next guest, is what I think. He's a recovering Gothic. He still wears the makeup, though, huh? Yeah. He's probably back there cutting. No, he won't be back there cutting his arms right now, would he? Because they went pretty well. Yeah, I was pleased. I was pleased with that. Oh, gosh. You know, I was at a family reunion recently with my boyfriend. And he was his family, okay? He turned to me and he said, "Honey, you're the sexiest woman here." Thank you. You know, that's like being the hottest chick in Walmart. Like, it's not hard to do. Like, thank you so much. And I love The Walking Dead. Oh my gosh. You know, it's like, talk about a killing spree, but, you know, like they're not killing anybody, right? So we're watching it, and my boyfriend says to me, "If you became a zombie, I'd have no problem shooting you." But his cat lives, he said, so he's a good guy, right? Oh, man. Men try so hard. Like, I love it. I do. I do. And boyfriends are great. But have you ever tried garlic cheesy bread? It's also delicious. I'm going to give me some of that today as well. Garlic cheesy bread. Oh, gosh. Oh, what am I going to talk about? Traveling. I do a fair amount of traveling, right? And you all have been through it. You all have gone through the security checkpoint. For some reason, I look like a troublemaker. They want to search me. They do, you know? And it's never a hot guy. It's always like some big, burly woman, you know? You got to wait for her, too. Like, they could hold you up. So, did you know when you get in the security line that they're scanning the line for people that they want to search? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I found a way, you know, to not get searched, basically. What I do is when I get in the security line, I put a wedding ring on my finger. Yeah. You think it's strange, I know, but when he comes through the line like this, I just go, whoosh. I am stable. And it works too. It's like a Jedi mind trick. Whew. This is not the girl you're looking for. So, would you like to see your comedian Trevor Gertonson, also your podcast entertainer? I know I would. Come on up, Trevor. You did a wonderful job. We're so glad. Thank you. All right, Trevor Gertonson.
All right, I'm going to move this over here. All right, Die Laughing 3. So I was a musician for 13 years, and I quit to do stand-up, and I did it for the money. Killing it. And me and a musician, a guy that wears makeup, and I front a lot of rock bands. And the thing is, like, when you look like I do, sometimes you get comments. And one time a guy stopped me on the street and goes, "Hey, why the fuck are you wearing makeup?" said, I'm in a band. He said, that's awesome. I was like, really? All those years of getting picked on, that's all I had to say? Like, what if I just lost my shit? I took a bunch of hostages, I'm on a rooftop, the police come? Please let the hostages go. Why are you doing this? I'm in a band! That's awesome. And the thing is, being a guy that wears makeup too, the one thing about wearing makeup is that once you put it on, you forget that you're wearing it. And I made the mistake of, in the middle of the day, going to the gym, which was uncomfortable for everyone there. And I thought, the only way I could make this worse is if I just wept uncontrollably on the treadmill the whole time I'm there. And I got the cure in my iPod, so I can make that shit happen. Actually, one guy come up to me, he's like, hey man, nice guy liner. Like, guy liner? Like, I don't know where I bought this. It was not purchased at the Home Depot from a guy with a hammer. And he's like, it's not guy liner, man, it's not guy liner. Maybe it's Maybelline, but it's not fucking guy liner. Oh, yeah. So I can stop talking about makeup for a minute. I love sharks. Yeah, and I love sharks are great, and I've always been interested in shark attacks. Because, it's weird. Whenever you look up, like, things on people like, oh, my God, how do you prevent a shark attack? I'm like, well, don't swim in shark-infested waters. It's like rule 1. Right out the bat, I thought of that on my own. And I live in Chicago, and my mom came to visit, and I was like, did you know that in Lake Michigan, there's actually, in a freshwater, there's a bullhead shark that came in, and there was a shark attack there. And so she looks it up on her phone. She's like, yeah, but that was like 50 years ago, and it only bit off his leg. I'm like, well, don't tell him that. You want to go swimming? Dude, I lost my leg last time. Once. Gotta get back on that horse. Oh, man. I love music, and one of my favorite, obviously, the musician thing, but one of my favorite bands is the Rolling Stones. And I was reading Keith Richards' autobiography, and in there, he had mentioned that he had fallen out of a tree and then had to have brain surgery done afterwards. And the only question that wasn't asked, which was the only question I had, is what the fuck is Keith Richards doing in a tree? That seems like something out of a horror movie, like you're in a cabin in the woods, you go to investigate a scary noise. Keith Richards comes popping out of a tree. Can't you hear me knocking? Yeah. And I don't know. I also love film, and not just watching movies, but also like when they bring them overseas. A lot of times they'll change the titles. And there's a movie in the 90s called Clean and Sober with Michael Keaton. And when they brought it to Spanish-speaking countries, they changed the name to Alcohol y Coca. Yeah, which means alcohol and coke, which doesn't sound like a movie about sobriety. It sounds a lot more like a Motley Crue tour documentary. Do you love watching movies? Recently I was watching the movie 12 Years a Slave. It's a great movie. But when I was watching, I got really depressed because like when I was sitting there watching, I was thinking about all these atrocities that have happened over time. They've all been done by white people. Like slavery, white people. Holocaust, white people. Trump, white guy. I don't know. And I don't understand, like, right, I don't understand bigotry. Whenever someone's to be racist, sexist, homophobic, there's these generic stereotypes to kind of, like, to make their point. Like, if someone doesn't like Jewish people, they go, man, Jewish people are cheap. I go, have you ever had money? It's delightful. Someone doesn't like black people, they go, man, black people love fried chicken. I go, have you ever had fried chicken? It's delightful. Someone doesn't like gay people, they go, man, gay guys, all they do is sit around sucking each other's dick. And I go, have you ever had your dick sucked? It's delightful. So I'm engaged. And when we announced our engagement, more than once, someone came up to me and goes, Trevor, whatever you do, don't get married. If you get married, you'll never get head again. I was like, well, why are you so concerned about that? And also, what kind of dick-sucking fairy tale land do you think I was living in? I do think it's interesting, though, when someone wants to say something's the worst, they say this blows, this sucks, which is a reference to oral sex. And it's like, well, there's got to be worse things than sucking dick, right? Like, what if we left here tonight and got shot, and then someone finger banged the bullet wound? It's got to be worse than sucking dick, right? Scale of 1 to 10. I don't know, man. But that's, yeah, so love is crazy, though. And the thing is, like, we all express it in different ways. I was in a coffee shop in LA and I overheard these two young gentlemen having a conversation. One of them turned to the other one and said, you know what, I don't think you love me anymore. And the other one responded, if I didn't love you, then why'd I suck that guy's dick for Disneyland tickets? And I thought, that's amazing. Because I'm never going to have that in a relationship. The only way that's going to happen for me is if my friend Charlie comes to my apartment and goes, hey, Trevor, guess what I did today? I'll be like, what, Charlie? Is I sucked some guy's dick for Disneyland tickets and say, boom, high five. Now brush your teeth, Mickey waits for no man. I never had much luck dating. And the thing was, I wasn't a very popular kid, probably because I wore makeup. But I remember one time I was minding my own business. I was sitting there, and this kid came up to me and goes, he's like, I got to ask you this. Is it true what they say? Is it true you're a homo sapien? I was like, well, I think we all are. He said, I'm not gay, and then he hit me. It's great. And, so I didn't even go on my first date till I was 16. And I ended up meeting the girl at a movie theater. And when I got there, she said that some old guy had tapped her on the shoulder right before I arrived and told her that wearing a dress like that, she deserved to be raped, which was horrible. And so I had her point him out to me, and I did what anyone else here would have done. I raped him. Yeah, choose your words more wisely next time, suspenders. So, so we lived together. and obviously because we're engaged, and when you live with someone, you can walk in on each other in uncomfortable moments. Like she walked in on me crying to the Notebook. Yeah, and I felt emasculated, so I went out and I bought a toolbox. Yeah, a lot of you can probably tell by looking at me, I can't fix shit. That is just a place for me to store my whiskey. And, So, sex is getting out of hand. I'm the only one who thinks that. What you kids are doing. Yeah, because, they have all these sex toys and things like that out there, and, they have, cock rings. And I don't know what the big deal is about a cock ring, because I got a rubber band and an imagination. I can save $5. And there's this thing out there called a fleshlight. I don't know if anyone here has heard of it. And what it is, it looks like a flashlight, and you unscrew the top, and inside there's a fake vagina to have sex with. And I guess the whole point is discretion, but you just hope none of your friends see it at your home when you have a power outage. That could end poorly for both parties. So the whole point is discretion, I guess, traveling businessmen and things like that. But I do have some advice. If you're going to travel with it, make sure you clean it out. Yeah, because you can't travel more than 3 ounces of fluid on a plane. I was doing that joke once, and this guy in the front row pointing at his friend. He goes, "He's got one! He's got one!" The poor guy's like, "Oh, he only knows that because I let him borrow it." I don't know about anyone else here, but I tend not to lend out things that I came in. Like this shirt. Yeah, so I went shopping for my fiance, and I noticed that Tim McGraw's got his own cologne out now. Yeah, I just wanted to know what racism smelled like. Yeah, just didn't have the money. There's a pending lawsuit between me and Tim McGraw. He's got to cease and desist my act, not just that joke, but yeah. So I don't have any kids. You're welcome. And when I was growing up, my dad always used to, like, if me and my brother, if we ever, like, scraped our knees or hurt ourselves, he'd always be like, you know, and we ended up crying. He'd be like, "Are you bleeding?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Then you can't cry or else I'll give you something to cry about." Yeah, like a lot of dads of that time area. So I was wondering, did just funerals just fuck him up? Like, does everyone there just cry? He's like, "What the fuck's going on? Is anyone here bleeding? If not, I'll give you all something to cry about." Yeah. This is a crazy thing. My brother has 3 kids, though, and what's kind of fun about that is babysitting. And, so I babysit them, and then when you babysit kids, a lot of times they make you read to them. So, you end up reading kids' books, and kids' books are supposed to teach them, like, morals and values and things like that. And one of the books I had to read to them was called The Lemming Condition. Yeah, it's written by Alan Arkin. If any of you haven't read this book, it is the story of a young little lemming that's traveling out west with his family. And as they're traveling, he starts asking his dad, he's like, "You know, why are we all just going out west?" He's like, "I don't know, I guess it's just what we do." He's like, "Okay." And then at the end, he decides not to follow through, and he watches his family and everyone he loves fall off a cliff and drown. So I was trying to figure out what the moral of that story was, and apparently it was, if you conform, you will walk off a cliff and drown, and if you are a nonconformist, you will watch everyone you love fall off a cliff and drown. It's a tale as old as time. Oh man, I've had pretty good luck, because I was talking earlier about how sex is getting out of hand. One of my friends actually asked me, she's like, "Trevor, I gotta ask you a question. Like, this whole, like, facial thing, do people actually like doing that?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I don't think that's a thing. That's impossible." And I was doing a show, and this guy in the back apparently did not like my set. And partway through, he goes, "Hey, faggot, I want to come on your face." I was like, "Oh shit, that's a thing." And apparently I'm going to experience that later. Not by choice. Thank you. Oh, man. And the thing with relationships, too, thinking about, you try and spice things up, right? Like, one of the ways you can do that is talking dirty, which I think is incredibly stressful. Because if you do it wrong, it can backfire on you incredibly quickly. But I think I figured out the strategy. You gotta, warm it up. Like, you go, "Hey, hun, you know what? First, I'm gonna do the dishes. Yeah. Then I'll take out the trash. And then we can watch Sex in the City and I won't make any remarks during it." She'll be like, "If you can do all that, we're gonna have sex." And I always have to say shit. She knows I can't make it through Sex in the City. Not one of my favorite shows. But the thing is, I asked one of my friends who'd been married for a long time. I was like, how do you keep things going? How do you keep it interesting? And he said to me, he's like, "Well, Trevor, it's all about makeup sex. You gotta have makeup sex." And I was like, "Well, I wear makeup all the time." That is not a game plan for me. All right, so where are we at? There's no clock? 8:01. Does that other person show up? All right, I got one more for you. Well, yeah. All right, bring me back up. I got a whole nother thing. So one of my favorite holidays is Halloween. Yeah, I love Halloween, and not for the reason a lot of you might think. The reason I love Halloween is because of the wonderful kid story, It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yeah, it's wonderful. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's a wonderful story of a young little boy who can't afford a decent costume. And he ends up cutting a bunch of holes in his sheet. And then his friends make fun of him for his crappy costume. But despite all that, he builds up the courage to go trick-or-treating anyway, where parents, instead of candy, proceed to put rocks in his trick-or-treat bag. Yeah, so I don't think it should be called It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. It should be called Nice Costume, Faggot. Charlie Brown Halloween. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the fest.